Now that I've been here 2 years, just what a great part of the country this is, and the excitement's never been higher. I think for Carolina football, which goes over to other avenues of athletics and other avenues of our life. So it's been great to be a part of that, and that's about all I have to open up with.
Go ahead, front row on the right here, Coach.
Hey, Coach, Jeremiah Tacho with Charles on
Jeremiah.
SI. What have you been telling Bryce Baker to work on during fall camp? And from your perspective, what is his relationship like with Max Johnson and Gio Lopez?
I think all those guys have a great relationship in that room. But Bryce is a young guy. He got here in January, and he's continuing to work and get better on every aspect of his game. So I think nothing's changed from January. He's continually getting better, and Bryce will continue to work. He's a hard worker. It's a hard working room, and everything's kind of moving forward in the right direction.
Andrew Jones, Target 24/7. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
So, what did you guys see on Gio in film that made you want to bring him here? And what have you seen since he got here that's kind of validated what you thought you were getting?
Well, Gio, he was a good football player at the University of South Alabama, and made a lot of big-time plays for them. They were successful as a team. Ultimately, the quarterback is a lot like the head coach. He gets blamed and credited for a lot of things, and he was successful at Alabama and made plays, got the ball to guys that could make plays, and that's everything you look for in a quarterback.
Front row on the left.
Freddie, Adam Smith inside Carolina. Freddie, I wanted to ask you about when you were sitting down to put together this offense for this program. You've had a ton of different roles in the NFL, and I was wondering what parts of different places that you've been that you wanted to incorporate. Like Gio was telling us in Charlotte that he's been watching Carson Palmer with the Cardinals. He's been watching Baker with the Browns. He's obviously been watching the Patriots quarterbacks. Like what did you want to do to build this offense, your offense?
Well, I think ultimately, I kind of cringe at that comment, my offense, because nowhere have I ever been, and maybe I learned from different people, but it was never their offense. It was our offense. And that's kind of the way it is here. I mean, it's our offense. So I had experiences in Dallas. I had experiences in Arizona. I had experiences in Cleveland, and even had some experiences in New York. Coach Belichick's had experiences in New England and in Cleveland. We've got a great offensive staff that has had experiences everywhere. So when we came together as an offensive staff, this is kind of becoming our offense. So, of course, you're going to take what you've lived, and that's what I've done. But we also get the vantage point from, it's a conglomeration of everyone and everyone's ideas and things like that. Now, ultimately, you have to make a decision on things, and that so that happens ultimately. But it's up to our room, moving up the ladder and all that kind of stuff to come together, and it becomes our offense. That's just what it is. So, but yeah, I mean, we have plays from Arizona, we have plays from Cleveland, we have plays from New York, we have plays from Roseville High School. It doesn't matter. We just want the best football players for our players. We don't really care where they come from, but collectively, we get that together.
Hey, Freddie, Pat Walter from WRAL.
Pat?
You just said it's all our offense, but I'm curious, has there been any requirements or asks that Bill Belichick has had about how the offense is run that stands out? Where you're like, oh, maybe I never thought of that before, or something unique?
Right. Well, let me clarify something. When I say our offense, this is Carolina's offense, first and foremost. So has there been any requirements? I think when you start talking about things like that, it's like, I've worked for Bill Parcells, I've worked for Nick Saban, I've worked for Sylvester Croom, Darryl Dickey, Ken Wisenhunt, Bruce Arians, Hugh Jackson, and Joe Judge. So every one of those guys I learned something from. So I welcome everything that Coach Belichick recommends, or why don't you think of this, or why don't you think of that kind of stuff. So it's a conglomeration of thoughts and ideas and feedback and stuff like that gets you to where you are as a coach. So hopefully that answers your question.
WRL. First of all, good to see you. I hope you're feeling healthy.
You're dressed a hell of a lot better than most of these guys. I just want to tell you that, okay?
Thank you. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
That's
feeling
great. You were the only guy left over in the transition. I wonder what that was like to, obviously, for Mac to leave, but then to hear that it might be Bill Belichick, to actually have Bill Belichick come in, and then your decision to stay or his decision to retain you. How did all that go?
Well, I think, first and foremost, in this business, you kind of get used to change from time to time. Luckily for me, I have never had to get used to it too often. I had I was in Arizona for 11 years and Cleveland for 2 and New York for 2. But, I've kind of been very fortunate from the standpoint of like my family's kind of grown up in the same place. My daughters went to 2 different schools and then they were off to college. So when Coach Belichick came in, of course, I was excited about him coming in because it's great to, like I said, I feel like I got cheated from only having 1 year with Coach Parcells. Okay, I was fortunate enough to have more years with other head coaches, but I feel very fortunate that I get to be around Coach Belichick and learn from him.
Hey, Coach. Have there been any freshman players that really stood out to you and really exceed your expectations when they step onto campus?
Well, I think, a lot of them. I mean, I think all those guys are kind of continually to get better, and they're working hard each and every day. And, I know on the offensive side of the ball, we try to stress just getting better each day. Don't worry about where you're starting. Let's worry about today and to get better today and kind of stay where your feet are. And I think all of them are doing that. So, yeah, I think there's a bunch of them that fall in that mode.
Freddie, Michael Code, WCHL, Chamboro.com. Good to see you again. A lot of the players have made mention of the conditioning that they've done in the summer under Coach Moses Cabrera. Gio said he's the best conditioned he's ever been in his life. Thad Dixon compared it to a cross-country team. As someone who was here last year, have you noticed the ripple effects of that in how long the guys are able to go in drills in fall camp, the quickness, explosion that they've had?
Yeah, I think, good to see you again. I think Moses does a great job in his group in the weight room, and it certainly shows, these first 4 days. We're 4 days in right now, so it certainly shows in those first 4 days, but I think really where it's going to show is those last 4 days maybe. So I think that's kind of what Coach Mo always has in mind, and that's why he's one of the best out there.
In the middle on the left here.
Hey, Freddie, Caroline Mills from
Hey,
the
Caroline.
Newspaper. I'm just curious, you were here last year and you saw just the journey that Max Johnson took on his way through that gruesome injury to making it back to the field. What did it mean to you to see him come back from that, and what did this mean for him so far?
I tell you, it's, seeing him on the field in Minnesota last year and then seeing where he's at right now is remarkable from the standpoint of what he did in the training room. And I just know from experience, like injuries like that, it puts a toll on you from a mental standpoint also. So, for him to recover mentally and physically the way he's done has been remarkable. And of course, I'm so happy for him. I know he's happy, to be in the position he's at right now. And, I'm looking forward and excited to see him move forward in not only football, but in his life, because the injury he had could change your life,
Back middle.
Coach Ted Keefe of the Sports Business Journal. We've heard a lot about Coach Belichick coming in and saying he's going to be the 33rd NFL franchise. As someone who's spent a lot of time in the NFL, what does that mean organizationally to you, not just in day-to-day coaching, but in terms of management of staff and overseeing an organization like Carolina? How does that work? How does that manifest itself?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure that it's, the salary cap's a lot different, but we are in, at times of different times of the year, you're in player acquisition business and things like that. So ultimately, the footballs are the same size, and we're going to throw the football out there and just try to be the best team that we can be. You'd probably have to expand on that with him, what exactly he means by that.
Does it feel a little bit more like an NFL organization than some other college stops you made?
I think the last, 2 or 3 years in college football has felt more like that, definitely. Even like you know, like people tend to forget, and I even forget that 4 years ago, I was still in the National Football League, but at some point it changed to where a kid could transfer and be eligible to play. Used to, you'd transfer and you'd have to sit out a year. It didn't matter the reason, anything, you'd have to sit out a year. So just that little part right there changes the dynamics of your team, one, but the person itself and in the locker room and everything else. So.
Front row here on the left.
Yeah, Jeremiah Holloway with Inside Carolina. Of course, a lot of new faces and returning faces in the running back room specifically. Of course, the loss of Marty Hamilton kind of being the workhorse guy. What's going to be the process of? I know we're early in practice at this point. What's going to be the process of finding a way to replicate and replace that production?
Well, I think these guys are working. Like you said, it's early in the process. These guys will continue to work. There's a lot of things that that's going in, or just getting reps and showing what they can do and showing their strong points, their weak points, and things like that. But it's not easy to replace a first-round draft pick at running back, or at any position for that matter. But we've got some guys that are excited to be here. We're excited that they're here, and we'll see where it takes us. But those guys are working hard and doing what they're supposed to do right now. Very pleased with it.
As you evaluate the quarterback position, how will you determine a starter? Is it going to be the guy who makes the least mistakes, who makes the biggest plays? Those might not always be the same person.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one area that you can just pinpoint. I think it's kind of a conglomeration of the whole body of work, and at the end of the day, when it shows itself, that decision will be made at that point. I don't think we're anywhere near that. They're just out there trying to get better. I think that's the one good thing Coach Belichick stresses. Let's don't worry about all that. Let's just go out and get better. And each day is its own entity. And what am I going to do today? We wake up every day, and we kind of have nothing. So it's whatever you give today is going to determine what you get later. So let's see what you're willing to give, and then we'll see what you get down the road.
Does it help the offense at all to have two left-handers? To have, does it make things simpler?
Well, we actually have three.
Have three, okay.
We have a freshman from Virginia. All three of those guys are working. Is it a benefit? I don't know yet. I've never been around so many left-handed quarterbacks in my life. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. There you go.
Staying on the changes, the fact that you have 9 offensive linemen who have started a lot, either here or somewhere else.
Right.
What does that do for the competition there? And you anticipate that's going to be some jockeying that takes place for a while.
Yeah, and I tell you, Chef Josh and Amber and those guys in the dining hall, I mean, they've had hell to pay too, feeding those guys. So it's being a little facetious there, but it's great. Again, that's a position group that there's a lot of competition. We kind of welcome competition because we think you got 2 guys competing at guard, 3 guys competing at guard, whatever it may be. It's going to make all 3 of those guys better, or it shows itself, and you show who ends up being the starter or second team or whatever. So we welcome all that. So of course it's great.
How versatile is the group? How much versatility? You guys know what Austin Blasky's about. He's kind of moved around some. How much is having a guy like him that can kind of play everywhere to sort of help you move forward, meshing this group?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys have versatility. We're kind of working through that right now, and we'll find out what the end result is. But a lot of them have versatility, which is a good thing, and we'll sort through it at the end.
Front row here.
Two more. I joke about feeding these guys, but Will already mentioned how the nutrition has kind of improved this year. Have you noticed specifically body type wise, or like slimming or adding muscle, that these guys have kind of changed?
Well, I think there's when you start talking about things like that, you're talking about different steps in different areas, and I think it goes back to Amber and nutrition, Chef Josh, and that's actually cooking the food, preparing the food, buying the food, and all that stuff, and you go to Moses. So, I mean, I'm very everybody in this room knows that you can eat healthy all you want, but if you don't really exercise, you may still not be what you want to be. Well, it kind of falls into that, or you could exercise all day long, but you go ruin it in the kitchen. So, those guys have done a good job in those particular areas, and our kids have bought in from the standpoint of of how do I want to prepare, how do I want to eat, and ultimately, what do I want the end result to be? Because we know eating right, working out hard, putting everything into that has results at the end, at least for you personally. Then we'll see how it comes together collectively as a team.
Last one, second row on the left.
Back in the Tar Heel, what have you seen from Jordan Shipp? Do you think he's poised to be a big piece of this offense?
Yeah, I think Jordan is a leader, first and foremost. I think those guys Jordan always knows what to do, which is very special from that standpoint, especially at that position, if you play so many positions. And he can help the younger guys. You know, he's not that old of a guy either. He's been here 1 year. So, you know, Jordan's working hard. He knows the things that he's going to continue to work on and get better and stuff like that. So Jordan's a great benefit for us.
Thank you, guys. We'll bring Steve out.
Thanks, Freddie.
Freddie, thank you.
Appreciate you guys.